Well, Adrienne, we're back from our first Whitbread. Where do we go from there?
Well, it was the thing about doing a Whitbread is you meet people from all over the world and make a huge amount of sailing contacts. So one of the things about doing those around the world was is that it's very hard on your body because you're using freeze-dried food and eating freeze-dried food, and that's quite hard on your body, and you're just completely tired, exhausted. You've been at sea for a lot of days and mostly about 30 days at a time. So I was pretty tired. I came back. I'd started working at a law firm in '92, and they Norton Smith, which was actually the oldest law firm in Australia, in their shipping department, and so, but they were very great with my sailing. They really supported it, and when I went to do the Whitbread, they said, we'll give you leave to go. And so I went back and worked in the law firm for a year just to, which was good. And at the same time, just did the local sailing here.
Well, you'd obviously got a name as a navigator by that time.
That's right. And there were various things we were looking to put together a team for the next race, which was the 97-98 race. And with various people around here who thought, it would be a good idea for another all-girls crew. So I then worked with them, but did regattas overseas. I did my first Admiral's Cup in '95, not as a navigator. Actually, I was up past the pit, so that was interesting. Yep. And but I also, during this time, I'd also done some Olympic campaigns. So in 1990, 91, I'd gone and done a Europe dinghy campaign.
In what class?
In the Europe.
Oh, the Europe dinghies, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I went and spent a season over there, which was really great for your sailing because being a skiff sailor, you don't, and plus not having come through that kind of pathways when you're a child where you learn the real basics of tactics and things like that. That was really good to do that, and here did all those Kiel women's worlds in Amsterdam. And then the next year, I think I did the pre-Olympics in Barcelona. But, you were living off the smell of an oily rag, sleeping in cars.
Were you close to selection at all?
Not really, not in the Europe, I don't think. They weren't going to send anybody, I don't think. Right. I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah. And then in 95, with Jenny Danks, we did a 470 campaign. So a lot of 95 was spent again doing Spa, the 470 Worlds in Toronto. And then after that I just went and lived in Fort Lauderdale for a while, in Newport, Rhode Island, Fort Lauderdale, because I'd completely run out of money. Right. And so I turned up in Newport and stayed with some friends and just cleaned boats at boat shows and things like that, did deliveries.
With a law degree behind you.
Yes, I know, but
that was the life.
That was the life, and so I did deliveries up and down the coast, Newport, Bermuda, the Caribbean, and that was when someone approached me to do Elle McPherson was interested to do a Whitbread campaign. Yeah. So I was working over there. So I came back. I came back for the Hobart, which I did on Assassin with Robin Crawford. Because one thing was I always came home at Christmas. I've only missed 2 Christmases. Because I do get quite homesick, and so that was one thing I always did come home. And so I came back and that was the start of that 96.
That all fell over, didn't it?
It did, yeah. We just didn't get the money in the end. And but we did, I assembled a team of a lot of the people that I'd met already from the women from the America's Cup and generally. And we actually sailed from... We bought chartered the old Heineken, which we'd gone around the world in, and we sailed from England all the way to Fremantle, which was a big undertaking. And we left and stopped in Cape Town, and then Rossfield came on, and we sailed then to Australia, and we actually sailed in the Southern Ocean in winter in August. Yeah, so by the time we got to Fremantle, we had a good crew together. And then we sailed it from Fremantle around to and that was when in '96 we did the Sydney Hobart as Elle racing.
That's right.
So that was the second time I'd skip at a boat. Yeah.
And was that all girl again?
That was all girls again, and the thing was, though, we had to start 5 minutes before the fleet because we had water ballast.
That's right.
And in those days, water ballast wasn't allowed. Yeah. But
times have changed.
Times have changed. Yeah. So we had a good race, and that's.
But wasn't there the next Whitbread, or was it Whitbread or Volvo or Whitbread then? Didn't you do just a leg?
Yeah, that was in 2005.
Oh, as far 2005. Was there any race in between that you did another Whitbread?
Well, I didn't. What I did then, instead of doing the Volvo, the Whitbread then, I was then asked to join Tracy Edwards' team for the Jules Verne.
That's right, Jules Verne. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and how did that go?
That was fabulous. That was fabulous. I mean, I joined that in '97, and we went out and did the cross-channel record. I mean, Tracy Edwards is an amazing.
So this was a big catamaran, wasn't it?
Yes. So this was the old Enza.
Yeah.
And 100 foot. It's like the size of a tennis court. And that was my first time on multi-hulls. And it was quite another baptism of fire.
Was that where did that start from?
The Jules Verne?
Yes.
So the Jules Verne is the round the world record, and it starts at the corner of Land's End and the corner of France.
So it ushered...
the lighthouse.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to cross the line.
And it's non-stop.
It's non-stop around the world. Yeah. So
were you a navigator?
I was a navigator. Yeah. So we did a bit of lead up.
Yeah.
We did a bit of lead up, which we broke the cross-channel record. And then we tried round Britain and Ireland and didn't quite make that. But, it was getting cold then. We were in October, November going up around the Orkneys and things like that. And but the multi-hull was great for me because being from skiffs, it was everything I knew about how to sail. It was making decisions at high speed, thinking ahead. The whole style of sailing was fabulous in the multi-hulls. And
was that a mixed crew?
That was all girls.
All girl again.
And we all still talk on WhatsApp now. We've got, and it was a really great, the way it was set up in terms of if I might say, generation experience, because you'll know the names I talk about now. We had Tracy Edwards, who was the skipper, who's very good at organising these projects. And Royal and Sun Alliance were a really good sponsor too. And then there was myself, Michaela, who I'd done the Whitbread with. She was a watch captain, another girl, Helena, and another girl, Emma Westmacott, who'd been part of our London to Australia team. And then we had some names like records, Samantha Davies, who's a very famous single-handed sailor. So there was the three of them, and they were the little ones. They were only 22 when we did this. Emma Sanderson and also Sharon Ferris, who does a lot of sailing now, and Samantha Davies, and of course Miranda Merrin, who's done. So out of that, we sort of wonder how about 4 or 5 out of that program went off and sailed on their own.
Yes, but it was a race against the clock, wasn't it?
It was a race against the clock.
Wasn't any other boats.
No, and that's what makes it really interesting, because you don't have the fleet dynamics, and you actually go wherever you want to go. Nothing else influences you. It's kind of pure sailing, and you always say to yourself, if you lose this record by a second,
Yes.
So racing against the clock makes the clock go really quickly. But we lost our rig actually down, as I talked to you about those low pressures earlier. A low pressure came up quite high, and we weren't able to go north fast enough. We were hightailing it north to get out of it, but we didn't make it, and we had a bad nosedive. And the rigs are all deck stepped.
Yes.
Yeah. So the rig came down. It took us. They were very nervous moments, because we had to first check everybody was okay. There was no, the hull wasn't damaged at all. There was no water coming in. And also you've got this massive main that's across the whole of the boat. But we got it all together. So that was on day 43. And then, we were sitting out there. It's amazing how the noise on these catamarans is incredible. You can't probably imagine. It's just high pitched. And the interesting thing is, when you sail them, you actually live by the noise. So when it goes quiet, it's sort of. And so after all this noise, the rig came down. All of a sudden, it was dead quiet. We're sitting in 50 knots, and it's dead quiet. So anyway, but we sat down, we worked it all out, and we re-stepped what was left. We cut away the rig, re-stepped what was bottom of the mast, and re-sewed some sails, and then we sailed into Chile. So that was day 60, and got towed the last little bit up the channel.
And how were you on record pace when you?
Yeah, yes, we were,
Were
because we had to beat, I think it was Olivia de Kerserson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had like 4 days to the Horn, 3 or 4 days to the Horn. We were about 2,000 miles. We were right in the middle. And in fact, when I did my thesis, when I went back to uni and did my degree, Bureau of Meteorology, not the Bureau, at the University of Reading, I did applied meteorology. And one of the things I talked in my thesis was exactly about this zone of where some people get lost, and it's about, I can't remember the latitude and longitude, but it's just 2,000 miles from Australia, from Cape Horn, from the Antarctic. It's a really place where...
Is that Point Nemo? Is that where they...
I don't know.
Is that the point furthest away from land anywhere?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point Nemo, I think they refer it to.
Yeah.
Is that about where you drop the rig?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there was a couple of, Open 60 sailors who'd gone missing around that area.
Right,
So, yeah.
Well, then obviously you're in high demand worldwide. The Hobart races, you started to join yachts on high-profile yachts then as navigator?
Yes. Yeah. So that was the time then we come to the 98 Hobart. And I was asked to sail on Ray Roberts' team for the 98 Hobart. We had an incredible crew of people: Ian Murray, Rich Arnson, Gordon Maguire, really, really incredible crew, Michael Spees. And we talked about it that morning about, this low pressure system. And this was a fairly light boat. It was one of those One Design 48. And as we got out there the first night, it was 30 knots downwind, and Gordon was steering, and, it was incredible sailing. And I remember at about 8 o'clock, because it was the weather facts then, I said to Ian down below, I said, the analysis has just come out, and the 24-hour, and I said, there's no space in between these ISO bars, it's on. And so we were talking about it, what we were going to do, and then the rudder let go. So the decision was made for us. So we were already in Ulladulla when it all unfolded very badly. And, we all know what the consequences of that race were. But, it's at various times, even this year, this last year in 2023, when they looked about the low, there was a lot of discussion about those low pressures and the effect they can have, but we haven't seen another one since that time, thank goodness. But it did shake up the industry, shake up a lot, because there were not many professional sailors as such then, and but it had the effect of the sport looking inwardly, and the safety stepped up to another level, which was good. So.
Well, 2003, you're the last winner of the Admiral's Cup.
That's right. I know. So the next 2 years from 99 through to the early 2000s were great years of doing all those regattas, sailing Bumblebee with Johnny Calbezza. I did the transatlantic record with Nicorette. And I sailed a long time, for many years, with Lotte Ingvall, who's a great competitor in the Sydney Hobart and character. Yeah. And that was it's very enjoyable sailing with all other nationalities. That was all Swedish, and we were sponsored by Nicorette. And in 2000, that was an incredible Hobart for us, because that was my first time I won line honours.
Line honours,
yeah. And that was exciting. When we got to I remember we came around, and those that have done the Hobart remember those big storms that come through Storm Bay, and Knut Frostad was on board, and we're coming up to the Iron Pot, and something happened. We had to cut away the tip, and they sort of almost went everyone down below, and we got, that was all done, and then we got up to the finishing line. It was sleeting and snowing.
Normal Hobart race.
Hobart race. So that was an incredible win, that one. Yeah. And the first one's always the hardest. Yeah. So that was great. And then 2001 we had the Twister. For those that remember that one, it was incredibly hot leading up to the start. Bushfires. The sky was dark, and we started the race, and we're going down, I think, off Wollongong, and we could see this Twister in the distance, and we're going, it's, for some reason, it's coming towards us, and this was on Nicorette again, and I remember Grant Warrington being just up between there, And then Luda said okay, I want everybody down below. And so we pulled the main down, tied it down. Everybody went down below. Luda stayed on deck with one other person, I think. And when it happened, when it hit us, it was the scale last I could see was 70 knots. But it lifted the boat. I mean, it really did. It was quite frightening.
Scary,
yeah. So it did some damage to the main. So that year we didn't win line honours. But anyway, so that was just the Hobart throws everything at you.
Yeah, it never lets you down, as they say.
Never lets you go.
But I mean, Adrienne, your record, 31 Hobarts, I think 6 line honours, 3 overall handicap wins. It's an incredible record. And, the first woman to get to 25 Hobart races and now 31. I mean, as I said, you could go on forever, but just a couple of highlights.
Oh, but there's too many.
Yeah.
But
a handicap win's always good, isn't it?
Oh, handicap win, because it's so hard to get.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me 15 years to win the first time, and that was my fabulous tenure with Wild Oats on Wild Oats 11.
A lot of fun, great owner.
A great owner, and that was when, we'd done the Admiral's Cup in 2003, and by then I'd sort of been shore crew on another Volvo campaign, which was fantastic. And then I'd done quite a bit of transatlantic sailing in the Amoccas, and I'd actually started to do a little bit of onshore weather routing, which was interesting but very hard. I think the people like Roger Badham and all these Ken Campbell who do that onshore weather routing, they're incredible people, because we had that in the Jules Verne and then we also had it in Cheyenne. So in between doing that Nicorette and then doing that Volvo, I did the round the world on Cheyenne in the old PlayStation with Steve Fossett.
Right.
So that was
did you get round?
We broke the record, 58 days.
58 days.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that was in 2004.
So she was a catamaran.
That was a catamaran?
Catamaran,
Yeah, so that was 110. And we'd also done some interesting projects in 2002, because Tracy had got us all back together again and said, I want to do... in 1998, we hadn't done the Jules... We hadn't broken the Jules Verne when we broke our rig. So she said, would you come back and let's do it on the Ollier Cat? So we did. We started to do all these records, but we all said this time, let's make it not just all girls, let's make another statement and do it half-half. So we had exactly half-half. And this was another time when I was skipper with Brian Thompson and another girl, Helena Darvelid, and we broke the 24-hour record. And that was incredible. We started at the bottom of Virginia, and we had a couple of Aussies on board, which was fabulous. A couple of Aussie skiff sailors, one of Greg, who were great at trimming, because that was a boat where the hull flew, and you had to be really careful. So we started at the bottom of Virginia and we got going, and the first 6 hours we averaged 34 knots, and then we went on the front of a front, and then the front caught up to us, waited a bit, and then kept going, and we beat Steve Fossett's record. We did 6:97, I think, and we beat it by 15 minutes. So it was incredible. So we this is just this whole world of so many different things you can do, and the multi. So we did that, and then we ultimately didn't do the Jules Verne because just couldn't get the money together, I don't think, with Tracy.
When you broke the record with Steve Fossett, was he on board?
Yes, he was.
Right.
Yes. So Steve Fossett, we had 13 people, and in fact this year we're all in touch, because it's 20 years exactly since...
And how long did that take you, did you say?
That took us 58 days.
58, and that was the record?
That was the record, yeah. So after that, then I joined the Volvo campaign, Torben Grail's Brazil one, and as the navigator. And I was just there for the first league. Right, we did sort of see,
Well, more recently, a couple of months ago, you won the Hobart again on a live.
Yes.
And I mean, looking at the weather prior to the race, everyone said it was tricky. It was going to be a very tricky race. I think even on Boxing Day morning, no one really knew what it was going to do, but you obviously got it right.
Well, it was, there's been a couple of races like this. I can name, for example, 2012, when we were at Wild at 10, where everything that we said was going to happen happened. Sometimes 2005 was another one when we won the handicap. We're 16 days out, which is the normal time that the first GFS model comes out. It almost happened as it happened on the day. Whereas 2011 was one, and this year was one where the model changed not just daily, it changed each model run. So you really just did not get an opportunity to have any certainty in the forecast. So that meant all issues related to planning, sales, things and also just the general, everybody gets a bit of comfort from knowing what's going to happen.
Yes.
But this year was very difficult because, people remember before Christmas was very hot, very humid. The models weren't coping with all those variables. And so it really came up. Our decision was made, and what the forecaster had said at the briefing before. She said, watch out with the upper level lows on the south coast and the current that was running hard, how hot and what that'll do. And that actually ultimately what happened. We got up there, saw the score line along the coast there and said, well, you're not going to go into that. So we made the decision. Yeah. So it became apparent in the afternoon, but we'd done, triple the work of a normal race because you had to get, the whole team had to be over so many scenarios. And that was where our team, we had an incredible group of people because they were over all those scenarios, they were well informed. So it meant that all the sail changes, there was nothing left to chance, and we only won the race by 12 minutes, and anybody knows that's a bad reef or a bad sail change, and we didn't have any. So, we did lose a jib top, that cost us, but other than that, the race went very, very smoothly.
For a live second win.
So,
Adrienne, what now? What's next for you?
Well, that's always a question. Actually, I've always been asked that question. After I'd done the around the world, they said, "What's next? What's next?" And I'm sort of at a different stage of my life. I've got teenage children, and so COVID actually was really difficult because we weren't able to. I relied a lot. In 2019, I still do these races. So Transpac. California Race Week. I've tended to do a lot of my offshore sailing in the States, and they're very smart. Their races start in a nice place and finish in an even warmer place. Every time I turn right to Hobart, I think, where's this race committee going to work?
Yes.
And so I love that circuit, and so it was really hard in those few years with COVID where we all couldn't travel overseas, because you lost a lot of connections. So the last year has been building up, 2023 has been a lot about building up those teams. Again, I sailed Transpac last year. St Bart's is another great. I love doing races, particularly where you've never done before, because it's all living something new. And I've never won the Transpac, so I love that race to try and win that again. So I do enjoy all the sailing still. So I think when you ask what's next for me, it's just there's still lots of great sailing to do.
Will we see you for the Rolex Sydney Hobart race in 2024?
Yeah, well, it's funny because my children, when we were talking about my two daughters, when we were talking about Lindsay May just doing his 50s, they said, "Mum, you can get to 50." And I said, "Oh, I don't know about that."
You've got 19 to go.
19 to go.
Well, Adrienne, thank you. It's been wonderful. I mean, as I said earlier, we could talk forever. An amazing career over so many races and events and with people. It's incredible. Congratulations, and we look forward to continuing on with watching your progress, and good luck.
Well, thanks, Shippers, because we've had some great days at sea together.
We have, haven't we?
We have, and I'm hoping there'll be more to come.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Okay, thanks, Adrienne.
Thanks.